Colt 45, single shot. You had to cock it every time you shot. It's called a peacemaker, but I haven't seen much peace that it brought. No. The guys today have that full automatic. Pull the trigger and spray. History's a funny thing. They got us believing that Columbus discovered America and the Indians were already here. That's like me telling you, and you're sitting in your car, that I discovered your car. Then they want to call them the evil red savages because they didn't give up the car soon enough. There's one thing about time. No matter how much or how little passes, it changes things. People forget their past, and they forget the truth. But pictures don't lie. Forgotten gunslingers like Nat Love, Ice and Dart, Cherokee Bill, and troops too, like the 9th and the 10th. You see, people forget that almost 1 out of every 3 cowboys was black. Because when the slaves were freed, a lot of them headed out west, built their own towns. Shit, they didn't have much choice. In fact, over half of the original settlers of Los Angeles were black. But for some reason, we never hear their stories.
1 year before Jackie broke the color barrier, there was Kenny, Woody, Marion, and Bill. If you're asking who, you're not alone. Meet the men who integrated modern era pro football. So what's with this modern era qualifier? Get this, pro football actually allowed black players through 1933. But then this guy said, nah, and started a pact among owners to avoid signing any black players. A pact that lasted 13 years, until Paul Brown said that I want to win. In 1946, the Browns signed Marion Motley and Bill Willis. And they didn't just win, they dominated. Racking up championships, accolades, and Hall of Fame honors. On the West Coast, it went down a little different. Rams owners weren't as eager to sign black players, but the Coliseum was publicly owned, and pressure from a growing black community mounted. Kenny Washington and Woody Strode were signed, reluctantly. Ironically, the 2 multi-sport phenoms out of UCLA shared the same backfield with another multi-sport phenom back in college. Yep, Jackie. The thing is, in baseball at 28 years old, you're entering your prime. Football at 28, you're lucky if you still have fully functional knees. So Kenny and Woody missed out on their best playing years in the pros. But just like Marion and Bill back in the East, they didn't miss out on the slurs, the death threats, the segregated hotel stays, the struggles that come with integration. How bad was it? Woody Strode said, if I have to integrate heaven, I don't want to go. What these 4 men did in 1946 took sacrifice, courage, and iron will. It paved the way for generations. It was the catalyst to what the NFL has grown into today. So why didn't these 4 men's stature grow along with the leagues? In a period of time for the game that gets swept under the rug, Kenny, Woody, Marion, and Bill get swept with it. But not anymore. Remember the 4, the forgotten 4.
When his final credits rolled in '94, Woody Strode was billed as a scholar, decathlete, World War II Army corpsman, UCLA Bruin, co-starring Jackie Robinson in the same backfield. Yes, the Jackie. He's also credited as LA Ram, NFL color barrier breaker, wrestler, gladiator, Prince Charming. Seriously, he married a Hawaiian princess. Best Supporting Actor nominee, A-lister, Black John Wayne, Black Filmmakers Hall of Famer, BAMFer. Take a bow. We're more than players.
Woodrow Wilson Woolwan Strode, the kind of name you remember once you hear it. Yet Woodrow Wilson Woolwan Strode integrated modern professional football, so a lot of NFL fans know the name. You definitely know the name Jackie Robinson, Woody Strode's multi-sport teammate at UCLA. The 2 phenoms shared the backfield with Kenny Washington on the supremely talented Gold Dust Gang. Google it. Jackie obviously chose pro baseball, and baseball rightly celebrates him as the face of integration in this country. Woody stuck with football, broke the color barrier with the LA Rams a year earlier, and forget being the league's face of integration, he's not even a footnote. Here's another name you know, Spartacus, the film that garnered Woody a Best Supporting Actor nomination in Life After Football. How about this fella? Yep, named after Woodrow, aka Woody Strode. Hollywood isn't shy about honoring the same man, who also helped integrate the movie industry. So why doesn't the NFL acknowledge his role in this modern day integration? Maybe the league is still blushing about Black Jesus. Maybe it's because Woody only got to play one season with the Rams, thanks to a long-held pact by the owners to keep black players out of the game during his prime. Well, Woody obliterated that pact, and the discrimination that followed, with the generations and generational talent to come, a catalyst that catapulted the NFL into what it is today. Considering that, and all his other contributions to society, seems like the man deserves a shout-out. Yet Woodrow Wilson Woodwine Strode is a name that isn't mentioned at all, until now. Remember the four, the forgotten four.
Straightforward is brought to you by State Senator Ed Harbison, serving the citizens of Georgia's 15th Senatorial District and on the front lines for veterans every day. Progressive Funeral Home, family owned and operated since 1952. The George Ford legacy of high standards continues today in the compassionate and professional services provided. A touch of dignity for those who care. Progressive Funeral Home, 4235 St. Mary's Road, trusted by generations. Whole Patient Healthcare. Dr. Jada Rimes-Bacote is board certified in family medicine. She believes the best patient care includes practical, individualized lifestyle changes. Located at 1338 13th Avenue, Columbus, 706-641-2080, or visit wholepatienthealthcare.com.
Woody Strode, actor, athlete, and author. Woodrow Wilson Woodwine Strode, 1914 to 1994. Today, we are paying homage to this iconic, strong, and culture-changing actor, athlete, and author. Multi-talented and multi-disciplined, he broke the glass ceiling and brought something positive to everything he did. Quote, "If you're a nice guy, you can walk into a room anywhere in the world." With strong African and Native American ancestry, Cree and Blackfoot on his father's side, and Cherokee on his mother's, some reviewers and historians claim he could have been a more well-known and caste minority actor if not for his size and physically strong appearance, more along the lines of Sidney Poitier, a contemporary Hollywood of the past and present. Still has few positive roles outside of the stereotype for ethnic males. The roles he was offered fell within those limited, though notable ranges. Some interesting notes. He was one of the first 4 blacks who integrated professional football in 1946. His career was Sergeant Rutledge, 1960. a close friend of director John Ford from the early 1960s until Ford's death, with Ford having preferred Strode's company over most other actors. When the director became ill from cancer, somewhat controversially, Ford usually waved off claims his films were racist by saying things like, "But my best friend, Woody Strode, is black." According to John Capuchia's biography of Gorgeous George, Strode paid him a visit late in 1963 and was shocked and saddened to see the extent of his old friend's decline. On the highly macho set of The Professionals, 1966, Burt Lancaster, widely known to be a very physically strong man, frequently challenged Strode to contests of strength and was allegedly despondent to be repeatedly bested by him. Strode served in the United States Army Corps during World War II. Producer Walter Mirisch spotted him wrestling and cast him as an African warrior in 1951's The Lion Hunters, one of the Bomber, the Jungle Boy series. They wanted him to shave his head, reluctantly, until they offered him $500 a week. I said, "All right, where are the pluckers?" Then Strode realized, "I was out in the world market with a bald head, trapped for life. Finally, it became a way of life." He had roles in 1951's Bride of the Gorilla and African Treasure, another Bomber film, an episode of 1952's Dangerous Assignment, Caribbean, and Androcles and the Lion, playing the lion. "The toughest job I ever had," he later said. Strode was in 1953's City Beneath the Sea, directed by Bud Botticher, and the Royal African Rifles. He also appeared in several episodes of the 1952-54 television series Rama of the Jungle, portraying an African warrior. A gladiator in 1954's Demetrius and the Gladiators, and was in Jungle Man-Eaters, a Jungle Gym film. He could be seen in The Gambler from Natchez, Jungle Gents, a Bowery Boys movie set in Africa, and The Silver Chalice, all in 1954. In a TV adaptation of Mandrake the Magician, 1954, a pilot for a series that was not picked up, and had small parts in Son of Sinbad, 1955, Soldiers of Fortune, 1955. He appeared once on Johnny Weissmuller's 1955-56 syndicated television series Jungle Gym. Cecil B. DeMille cast him in The Ten Commandments, 1956, as a slave at $500 a week for 5 weeks. They were unable to find anyone to play the Ethiopian king, so Strode was given that role also. He also had a supporting role in Tarzan's Fight for Life, 1958, and a small part in The Buccaneer, 1958. In 1959, he portrayed the conflicted, some would say cowardly, Private Franklin in Porkchop Hill, which brought him critical acclaim. He called it the first dramatic thing that I had done. Strode was next cast in Spartacus, 1960, as the Ethiopian gladiator Draba, in which he has to fight Spartacus, played by Kirk Douglas, to the death. Draba wins the contest, but instead of killing Spartacus, he attacks the Roman military commander, who paid for the fight. He is killed, and the death sparks a gladiator rebellion. Strode had an excellent part in The Last Voyage, 1960, playing a heroic stoker, though he was only billed 5th. While making Porkchop Hill, he became a close friend of director John Ford. Ford gave Strode the title role in Sergeant Rutledge, 1960, as a member of the 9th Cavalry, who is greatly admired by the other black soldiers in the unit, and is falsely accused of rape and murder of a white woman. The big studios wanted an actor like Sidney Poitier or Harry Belafonte, recalled Strode, and this is not being fastidious, but Mr. Ford defended me, and I don't know that this is going on. He said, "Well, they're not tough enough to do what I want Sergeant Rutledge to be." That was a classic, he later said. It had dignity. John Ford put classic words in my mouth. You never seen a Negro come off a mountain like John Wayne before. I had the greatest glory hallelujah ride across the Pecos River that any black man ever had on the screen, and I did it myself. I carried the whole black race across that river. Strode had difficulty maintaining the momentum of these roles. He was in The Sin of Rachel Cade, 1961. Ford used him again in Two Rode Together, 1962, but it was only a small part as an Indian. He had a bigger role in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, 1962, for Ford, playing Pompey, John Wayne's hired hand. In the film, Strode's character recites the Declaration of Independence but apologizes for getting the phrase, "all men are created equal," a poignant line for the 1962 audience. Pompey Strode physically carried and thereby saved a drunken suicidal John Wayne from his burning home. In 1963, he was cast opposite Jock Mahoney's Tarzan as both the dying leader of the unnamed Asian country and the leader's unsavory brother, Khan. In Tarzan's three challenges, he had roles in the features Genghis Khan, 1965, and Seven Women, 1966. The latter, the last film he made for Ford. Strode was very close to the director. "He treated me like a son," Strode said. "I had a certain amount of crudeness. That went back 100 years, and that's what he liked." During Ford's declining years, Strode spent 4 months sleeping on the director's floor as his caregiver, and he was later present at Ford's death. Strode landed a major starring role as an expert archer and soldier of fortune in the 1966 western The Professionals. His name was the only one of the 4 professionals that was left off the movie poster. Nevertheless, the film was a major box office success that established him as a recognizable star. In 1967, he attempted to produce his own film, The Story of the 10th Cavalry, but went unmade. He appeared in 4 films that have been selected for the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. The Ten Commandments, 1956, Spartacus, 1960, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, 1962, and Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968. The character Woody from the Toy Story films is named after Strode, who had appeared in a number of classic Western films. Inducted into the UCLA Athletic Hall of Fame in 1992. Inducted into the National Multicultural Western Heritage Museum and Hall of Fame in 2012 to 13.
Columbus Pediatrics GA, working together to build lifelong relationships between our staff and patients by consistently providing compassion, excellence, and value with 2 locations. The Old Town office at 3580 Massey Lane, Suite F, 706-596-8667. The Midtown office, 1900 11th Avenue, Suite A, 706-323-3400, ColumbusPediatricsGA.com. Barbara's Cleaning Service, a 5-star commercial service with satisfied customers in Georgia and South Carolina, built on the principle that every detail matters. Barbara's Cleaning Service, a new season building a family legacy. The Autism Hope Center. Diane Pope has dedicated the last 3 decades ensuring that families had support and resources for their loved ones on the autism spectrum. Join the Autism Hope Center for fellowship and resources, located at 200 Hamilton Road, Suite B, or call 706-604-6333. Muskogee County Coroner Buddy Bryan. Buddy has set high standards for himself and his staff, ensuring that every citizen is treated with dignity and respect, regardless of circumstances. Buddy cares about crime prevention and is always excited to speak with students and community organizations. Reach out to Buddy at 706-653-3260.
Woodrow Wilson Woolwine Strode was born in Los Angeles. His parents were from New Orleans. His grandmother was Black Cherokee and his grandfather was Black Creek. He attended Thomas Jefferson High School in southeast Los Angeles and college at UCLA, where he was a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. Woody was a world-class decathlon athlete with a 50-foot plus shot put when the world record was 57 feet, and a 6-foot 5-inch high jump when the world record was 6 foot 10 inches at the time. Strode, Kenny Washington, and Jackie Robinson starred on the 1939 UCLA Bruins football team, in which they made up three of the four backfield players. They became famous nationally as the Gold Dust Gang. Strode made his first acting appearance in the 1941 film Sundown, playing a policeman. When World War II broke out, Strode was playing for the Hollywood Bears in the Pacific Coast Professional Football League. He was drafted at age 27 and soon joined the United States Army Air Corps and spent the war unloading bombs in Guam and the Marianas, as well as playing on the Army football team at March Air Force Base in Riverside, California, coincidentally just less than a half mile from where I am standing right now. After the war, he worked at serving subpoenas and escorting prisoners for the LA County District Attorney's Office before being signed briefly to the Los Angeles Rams, along with Kenny Washington. They were two of the first African Americans to play in major college programs and later the modern National Football League, along with Marion Motley and Bill Willis, playing for the Los Angeles Rams in 1946. No black men had played in the NFL from 1933 to 1946. His UCLA teammate Jackie Robinson would go on to break the color barrier in Major League Baseball. In 1948, he signed with the Brooklyn Dodgers of the All-American Football Conference, but was released before the season started, whereupon he joined the Calgary Stampeders of the Western Provincial Football Union in Canada, where he was a member of the Calgary 1948 Grey Cup championship team before retiring due to injury in 1949. In 1941, Strode had dabbled for several months in professional wrestling. Following the end of his football career in 1949, he returned to wrestling part-time between acting jobs until 1962, wrestling the likes of Gorgeous George. In 1952, Strode wrestled almost every week from August 12, 1952 to December 10, 1952, in different cities in California. He was billed as the Pacific Coast Heavyweight Wrestling Champion and the Pacific Coast Negro Heavyweight Wrestling Champion, all in 1962. He later teamed up with Bobo Brazil and Bearcat Wright. Strode's acting career was reactivated when producer Walter Mirisch spotted him wrestling and cast him as an African warrior in The Lion Hunters in 1951. Cecil B. DeMille cast him in The Ten Commandments in 1956 as a slave at $500 a week for 5 weeks. Strode was next cast in Spartacus in 1960 as the Ethiopian gladiator Draba, in which he has to fight Spartacus, played by Kirk Douglas, to the death. Draba wins the contest, but instead of killing Spartacus, he attacks the Roman military commander who paid for the fight. He is killed, and his death sparks a gladiator rebellion. While making the 1959 film Pork Chop Hill, Woody became a close friend of director John Ford. Ford gave Strode the title role in his upcoming film Sergeant Rutledge in 1960 as a member of the 9th Cavalry who is falsely accused of rape and murder of a white woman. Ford used him again in Two Rode Together in 1962, but it was only a small part as an Indian. Strode had a bigger role in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance in 1962 for John Ford, playing Pompey, John Wayne's hired hand. During Ford's declining years, Strode spent 4 months sleeping on the director's floor as his caretaker and was later present at Ford's death. In 1966, he landed a major starring role as a soldier and an expert archer in The Professionals, a major box office success that established him as a recognizable star. This was one of my favorite films, also starring Lee Marvin, Burt Lancaster, Jack Palance, Claudia Cardinal, and Robert Ryan. Strode's last film was The Quick and the Dead in 1995, which starred Gene Hackman, Sharon Stone, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Russell Crowe. The closing credits dedicate the film to Woody Strode. In 1980, Strode was inducted into the Black Filmmakers Hall of Fame. Strode was also a dedicated martial artist his entire life. Sheriff Woody of the Toy Story animated series was named after Woody Strode. I had a chance to spend some time, albeit just a few hours, with Woody Strode on March 11th, 1988, at the Sportsman's Lodge in Studio City, California. He was there for the Cauliflower Alley Club reunion. Mike Bazurki, the president, also a former actor and wrestler, had invited Mr. Strode down. He received an award that night for his contribution to acting for many years. I am here to tell you it was such an honor. One of the highlights of my entire life was meeting Woody Strode, and I have met presidents and I've met actors and most every professional wrestler around for the last 50 years. But meeting Woody Strode was a real honor. He was a sincere gentleman, and I just always admired and respected him. So Woody Strode, it's been a few years since I had a chance to come out here and pay my respects to you, and I wanted to do so today. I thank you very much, sir, for your service to the United States, for your being one of my role models growing up, and thank you, Mr. Strode, and rest in peace, sir.
What up, world? What's up, Columbus? Be sure to tune in every Sunday, Straightforward with Gloria Strode, right here on NBC 38.